Welcome to another episode of A Frugal Athlete. Today we have Ibrahim Badmus, someone that I had the fortunate pleasure of connecting with not too long ago. Just the power of networking, was able to hear his story. And I immediately, within 5 minutes of him talking, I was like, can I please get you on the podcast? People need to hear your story. So Ibrahim, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me, by the way.
Nah, thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy man. So for context, please give us your backstory.
Yeah, so Nigerian American, first generation. So I know you know what that's all about. Um,
Respect. Yep.
yeah, originally from Chicago, and just by happenstance, I happened to live in Chicago in the '90s, which was the exact same time Michael Jordan dominated the zeitgeist, as you could say. And it didn't take long for me to start playing basketball. So I patterned everything after him, and I wanted to be like him. And I was actually a pretty decent basketball player, so it gave me the opportunity to play, all over the country at a young age, and gave me opportunity to play collegiately as well. And then took that and played a little bit overseas and coached for a year and really did a whole bunch of things. I really didn't know what I wanted to do after I stopped playing, and got into so many different things. And I think I've started to kind of find my niche the last few years, kind of where I can have a foothold and really, highlight some of the things that I'm passionate about and then things that I'm talented at as well. So I currently am in the real estate industry. I also do a little bit of consulting, and I do a lot of help with startups on the side, and just a really fun place to be, at this time, of my life, just really enjoying that, and started a family recently, which is awesome. So
Oh,
I
congratulations.
thank you. So just really exciting time for me, and I'm just glad that I've been along this path, and none of it would have been possible without basketball.
No, so let's talk about basketball because I know we can both attest to it. Being Nigerian American, first generation as well.
Right.
Education, education, education.
Oof.
But you living in the '90s with MJ, scouring the scene. So how did that come about? You went to Bucknell. You had a great career at Bucknell. How did that all play a role?
Yeah, so Michael Jordan really changed, like the whole paradigm for my family. I think prior to him, there's only a few ways to be successful, in their eyes, right?
Yeah.
Doctor, lawyer, engineer. You know what I mean? I'm sure you
Yeah.
know you know what it's all about. And when they saw Michael Jordan, I mean, they're like, hold up, this guy plays basketball for a living, and he makes how much? And he's this famous, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just like it was almost like, oh, there's another route to get to this level of, get this level of stature. So they were completely open with it. You know what I mean? They actually like, encouraged me to, continue to work on my game, put me in all these leagues, let me play in AAU, and it was just it was a complete paradigm shift for them. And I was really glad because I almost like part of me all like kind of started to believe in that same methodology as well. Like this is maybe how I get there. This is how I make it. And then you hit with reality when you get to a certain level of basketball, when you just play against guys who are just like faster, stronger, more skilled. They've been playing longer, and then you just kind of get this realization like, whoa, there's levels to this. You know,
Yeah.
um, there's like legitimate levels to this. Like I'm good, but I'm not like good, right?
Yeah.
And then you just have to start playing. Like, what do I do next? Because like your whole life, you just believe this one untruth, and you're kind of hit with this reality, and then you kind of have to fall back on all those principles that your parents taught you initially, right? Have a
Yeah.
good education, challenge yourself academically and intellectually, and that's just what I did. I was really fortunate to kind of do both, and really hold on to the education piece because it's certainly paid dividends at this point in my life.
No, so talk about that. So, you mentioned like, post career, you've been able to, dabble in a bunch of different things, ultimately leading you to consulting and real estate. But what was your major at Bucknell?
So I majored in economics and political science. I originally came at Bucknell as an engineer, believe it or not. And then when I came on my visit, I told them I wanted to do psychology. So that tells you where my head was at. I just was all over the
Yeah.
place, and I'm still that way. I'm all over the place. Like I'm just interested in everything. So when I got there as an engineer, I just realized that like I'm not really good at math at this point, and then
Yeah.
and but so then I was like, okay, this is all about survival at this point. Like if I stick in engineering, I may not get to play. So
Yeah.
I actually got out of engineering, got into political science and economics. I did economics later on, but political science really intrigued me because I love humanities. I love the humanities studies,
Yeah.
and that was something. I think I was more of a qualitative thinker than anything. So that really brought me to the way governments work and political theory and things like that, which is always fascinating. But I ended up getting back to. I got my MBA later on, and I ended up coming back to math, and I'm actually pretty decent at math. Like I really enjoy like spreadsheets and stuff now. So it's kind of like I kind of came full circle. Never would be an engineer, but I do respect the profession. I think I'm pretty decent at math these days.
No, I love it. And I think it's really important for people to hear that, especially for the, young athlete or the college student athlete that's going through it. It's like you don't have to have it all figured out. But if you're curious, use that time to explore different things and find your different passions. And you're a testament to that. So what advice would you have for, a young athlete or student athlete? The landscape is changing now with NIL and all this digital media exposure.
Hmm.
What would be your advice?
Yeah, I think I'll leave with the advice that I'll lead with the advice that my coach gave me after I graduated. Like I'm sure a lot of athletes are used to this, but your last year at school, or maybe the last year that you want to be at the school, and every at the end of every year you have this meeting with your coach, and he's one on one. You sit down and you just talk about how that you kind of almost like a debrief for the year, right?
Yeah.
And so this year was my last year at Bucknell, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I knew I wanted to play, but I didn't know if I was good enough. And so he said, "Hey," I told him, "Coach, there seems just like a ton of uncertainty in the future. Like for the last 18 years, like I actually knew I was certain of things. Like I knew I was going to play next year. I knew I had a season get ready for. I knew a lot of things. I was so certain of things. And this coming year, I'm so uncertain." And his answer was just like so profound. He's like, "What you see as uncertainty, I see as limitless opportunity." And
Ooh.
yeah, it was really like he just hit me, and he just
Yeah.
said, "Go out and try everything. Like there's so much opportunity out there for you. Go and figure out where you fit in." And that's exactly what I did. So I think the best advice is see any kind of uncertainty as limitless opportunity. Like there's stuff out there that maybe you're uncertain, like you're just not fully up to speed with, or see things that just seem maybe just a little bit out of your comfort zone. I would take everything on and just embrace that the limitless opportunity that's out there.
No, that's a bar. And I think that's really important for people to hear because, as athletes, as student athletes, we are able to get in front of so many opportunities and so many doors. So if we have that mindset of, whether it's that transition from going to college to, pro or not going to pro or going from pro to the next phase, it's not uncertainty, it's limitless opportunity. And we do have the skills that can translate to anything that we want to do. So I had to write that down because that was a bar. So appreciate you sharing that. So
Yeah,
let's talk about you going pro. So you played overseas for a bit. How was
yeah.
that? Talk about that experience because not a lot of people know what it's like, to play pro basketball overseas.
Yeah, I mean, I probably took a much a beaten path to get there. I actually coached no, actually before I got into the G League. So
Okay.
I got drafted, and I was good. I was on the team. I was like, okay, I'm good. And then I realized back then it was called the D League, and then also back then before they really expanded, one G League or D League affiliate, or one D League team had probably 4 or 5 affiliates in the NBA. So like four NBA teams
So
would
it's just
feed their players into the D League. So I mean it didn't dawn on me then, but that means like there's tons of competition that's coming down from the NBA, right? So what ended up happening was I was on the Tulsa 66ers, which isn't even a team. So I'm really dating myself now. But Tulsa 66ers had the Bucks, I believe, the Wizards, the Mavericks, and I forgot the other team. I want to say like the Suns or something like that. But it was 4 teams that they had feeding prospects into this D-League team. And that year, when I was drafted, after like 3 days into camp, the Bucks sent down Ramon Sessions,
Oh,
and and
yeah.
Ramon Sessions. I don't know if you've seen him, but or heard of him, but he's pretty damn good player.
Yeah,
And
he shoots lights out.
well, he's not like a big time shooter. He could just get where he needs to get. He was really big in size. He came from Nevada, really good guard and a good
Mhm.
guy too. Like I mean, I got to know him pretty well. I doubt he remembers me, but I got to know him pretty well when I was there. But the fact that he was down meant that someone had to be out. So what ended up happening was once they sent him down, they got rid of me. They had another point guard on the team. So I'm the odd man out. And so I get sent home all salty and everything. And I'm like, man, I can't stand this dude. And I'm like, and then I look on the stats and everything. I mean, Ramon Sessions is dropping 30 bombs every night in the D
Yeah.
League. I mean, so I was like, it's not going to take long for him to get sent back up.
Yeah.
And he didn't get sent back up for a while. And then I think around January, so this is probably like 3 months into the season. January, they finally send him up. They call me, and I actually was so salty. I said, "No, I'm not coming back." um, and I thought I was like, at that point, I was so salty. It's like I'm done playing basketball. Like I'm just gonna go and do something else. So I went actually to coach at St. Francis University with Don Friday. He used to be an assistant at Bucknell. He recruited me to Bucknell, so I went to be an assistant with him. And I just realized after coaching a full season that like I'm just not cut out for coaching. And a really interesting story, like this is how crazy life can be. Like I was actually on the same staff. We actually recruited two. We had like 7 scholarships that year. We had 2 point guards that we were recruiting. One goes by the name of Umar Shannon, who's now an assistant there at St. Francis. The other is a gentleman by the name of C.J. McCullum. So we've had both of those guys on campus on the same day. And CJ McCullum had only one other scholarship other than us, and
Yeah.
it was Lehigh. And his so on that visit, CJ had his dad and his mom, and his mom was grilling us about academics. Like that's all she was talking about. And St. Francis, compared to Lehigh, just isn't like big time academic school. So
Yeah.
we didn't feel like we were going to get him, and we didn't get him. But I'm almost certain if we got CJ, I probably would have stayed at St. Francis because we probably would have won the league, and we probably would have went to the tournament, and we probably would have had success. So
Yeah.
it's just funny if how things just don't the things that don't happen kind of lead you to your the path and your destiny. So I just think that's a really interesting like a what if type of scenario. If he had come, I
Mm.
probably would still be coaching.
That's so interesting. It's just crazy. Like every action has a reaction, and obviously
Right.
the reaction for that decision it led to you going overseas. So talk about playing overseas. I really like that you
Right.
brought up being salty, because as athletes we do have pride, we do have egos, and that sometimes,
Absolutely.
I don't want to say it clouds our judgment, but it makes our decisions. There's a reason why we make our decisions. So I appreciate you being open and honest when it comes to that. But yeah,
Yeah.
so overseas, how was that experience? Talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, going overseas was more just like a bet on myself. It wasn't like any kind of predetermined, arrangement. So I just went there. I bought a ticket and went to Germany. And I had a buddy who played on the team in the first league in Germany. And he told me that, the coach is looking for a point guard, but they don't have a lot in their budget, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, I'm on a plane, I'm going. So I just go there and start practicing, and they love me. Um, but then I got hurt. I hurt myself, and I don't know if you know how it works over in Germany, but or it really in Europe or anywhere overseas. Like these are very fickle contracts. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they'll get rid of you if you look at them sideways. You know what I mean? It's just like there's just so much
uh,
fickleness there. So I go there and I hurt myself, and like the coach actually told me like, yo, we're probably gonna end up signing you. We're looking for a point guard. You're here. You fit the bill. And then I get hurt. I can't contribute to the team, so I'm just sitting there, just rehabbing. And by the time I get better, they already bring somebody else on, And then the coach says, "Hey, you know what? I got a friend like in the second league in Germany. You could probably fit in that system pretty well." So they sent me there, and a week's worth of workouts. I made the team, and that was like my first contract. So I played in Germany, then came back after that, and then was looking to get over in Brazil because that was I had another connection there. And mind you, I had an agent, but like he wasn't working as hard as I was working to get a job, So
Yeah.
got to Brazil, but I couldn't get my pass, I couldn't get my visa in time, so like I had to wait until when the season was over. So I basically just spent like one whole season just working out, um, and then the following season, I had a team ready to go. They sent me there, worked out with them. Boom, I'm playing on a team in Brazil, and it just so happened that team we just weren't very good, and that was like my last year playing basketball. I knew after that like it's gonna be really hard to find something, and so I just shifted gears, and I had already kind of felt it at the time. So like that whole year when I was working out, I started my MBA program as well. And by the time I was done with that season, I had one more year and a few more courses to complete to get my MBA. And I went ahead and did that. I actually came back home to Chicago and did like went to on campus to finish out all of my courses, and then got my MBA. And then while I was off, like now like we're like the game started for me. That was kind of when I was like, okay, now it's time to put like all of my effort and energy into like truly being something in business. And so like that same energy and that same effort and intensity that I brought to like trying to be the best basketball player I can be, just transfer all of that to being like the best person in this new role of professionalism that you're in. And so I was just lucky again, found a gentleman who I knew through another connection who was consulting for a sports facility, and they had a job opening. And as I was telling you, like I replaced this guy who, was in Philly, who had a futsal program. So I went into this sports facility and I worked there. And it was a good job, but it was a job. That wasn't like any kind of career move or anything. It
Yeah.
was just like a job, and I learned a lot. I learned about P&Ls for the first time. I learned about you know um, how to really make money off of a tournament. You know what I mean, like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And then a college connection again connected me with a developer in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, which is right near my college town of Lewisburg, PA. And I got to be a part of a developer's project. He was building a sports facility from the ground up, and honestly, I after that year alone was my MBA. Like I actually kind of regret. Like when I went through that year, I was like, man, I should have never gotten an MBA because this guy
That's
taught me.
interesting.
He taught me everything and then some that I need to know about business. So, just to give
So
you a
just
little bit
from
of
the
context.
experience of it, just the
Oh,
experience.
without a doubt,
Okay.
without a doubt. Yeah. So just to give you a little bit of context, this gentleman, I don't want to say his name because I don't want to, put him on blast or anything because
Okay.
he's a great guy, but I don't know if this is something he didn't pre-approve me to say this, so I'm
Okay.
just gonna leave his name anonymous. But he is a developer in Williamsport, PA. He owns about 30% of all the real estate in Williamsport, and he has a total net worth right about $500 million. Okay, um, and so
You
he
might need to say
owns
his name. I might have to connect with this guy.
he's a big time dude. So made a lot of his money in commercial real estate, but he had such like a vast portfolio. Like he was in fracking. You know what I mean? He had an aviation company. He was in retail, and he just wanted to build a sports facility. So he usually connects himself with people who know the industry, and I was just lucky that someone brought my name up to him. Like on my first interview, he actually flew in to interview me. Like I didn't have to come to him; he flew to me, and then he hired a consulting firm to like basically interview me and train me. And then just like a lot of business tycoons do, he's like, hey, you know what? You got all the skills. I don't need this consulting firm. I'm like, you're gonna be my guy. So you're gonna head this whole thing, this whole project. And so, like from day one, I was there a year before they actually broke ground. A year before they actually did the grand opening. So I got to see the whole process from beginning to end, and then just also be in the office with him just to see what else he's up to and like all
Yeah.
the other businesses that he was a part of. And it was just, I can't stress enough how important like just osmosis is, just being around people who are living the life that you aspire to live. Like you can learn so much just by watching them, like not even speaking to them or talking, just watching them, and just like eavesdropping and stuff like that, right? If you have opportunity to have a conversation or two with them, just like soak everything in and let them do all the talking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really just like a huge advantage that I had. And because of this experience and just like this world of knowledge that he imparted upon me, I just got so much better in the world of business. Like I learned how to build a budget. I learned how this is actually a really interesting story. So because I worked for that company, it was by far like the most well known company in that area.
Yeah.
Once people got word that I worked for the company, I would start getting banks emailing me. Banks would like people who worked at banks would email me, and I'd be like, huh, like this is strange.
Yeah.
So one banker said, hey, like I would love to invite you to dinner. And I was like, okay, that's strange, but sure, a free dinner. I'm not gonna pass that
Yeah.
up.
Not gonna pass up
So
free food.
right. So I go to the dinner, it's him and his assistant, two bankers sitting in front of me, and we're eating and they're asking me about, my life and everything. And
Yeah.
they're just like, hey, just so you know, if you ever come across this gentleman, the guy that I'm working for, you ever
Yeah.
come across him and he says he needs a loan, just let him know we're open for services. You know what I mean? People
Uh-huh.
are literally trying to get to him through me, like begging me to ask him to take their money, which
Yeah.
was insane to me. That's that to me is just having power, right? That's like having some sort of like elastic type of demand where banks are like lining up so you can just take their money, you know.
Yeah.
um
So to
Go ahead.
expand on that for now, talk about that because throughout your journey, your career, and I want to give you some props because you mentioned connection back to coach at St. Francis through your relationship with the Bucknell, that transition. You mentioned your connection to get to Germany. You mentioned your connection to get to Brazil. You mentioned your connection to get to your job in Philadelphia, which ultimately led you to this situation. As an athlete, talk about that connection and how to leverage it. Your reputation exudes itself, but I feel like some athletes aren't taking advantage of the network that they have within their sphere.
Yeah, I mean, I think your reputation is probably the most valuable currency you have, right? I mean,
Mhm.
truthfully, because that honestly, it really breaks down the barrier of like distrust. Like
Mhm.
ultimately, unfortunately, the way we all are as humans, we're naturally fearful people, right? Our amygdalas tell us when to, like when to be wary, and generally, most of the time, we're pretty wary unless we're in a very comfortable situation. And generally, when it comes to opportunities, for jobs, um, we're generally going to go to places that we just are less fearful. And um, people generally remember how you make them feel. I think that was a Maya Angelou quote. Like you always remember how someone made you feel. You don't really remember what they told you, just remember how you felt around them. And if you can foster that type of sentiment with people, just by being genuine and honest and at times maybe even vulnerable, um, I think that that is the currency that you carry, that you could carry and pass off to them. And in the event that anything pops up, they always think of you because you made them feel a certain way, and that's your reputation, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I never really I never treated this as a science. I was just always just raised to treat people well. But the more I learned, I thought, even that you bring it up, like the more I even think about it myself, I don't think there is a greater currency than your reputation in a world where pretty much all opportunity is built on top of reputation and relationships.
I love that. I love that. So continue. You're in the process of getting your, I like to say, your real MBA. As a
Absolutely.
sports consultancy developer, and then this ultimately you ended up finishing the project, I assume. And then
Yep.
what
So
happens next?
yeah, we finished it. So I built the budget, and our first year, I hired everyone. I built the business model, everything. Like, it was all me. Like, I was the mastermind behind it, and I built the budget. And we actually like were like a couple $1,000s above budget the first year, which was like that was like, for me, I was like, okay, I got this. Like, I'm good at this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and then year two comes, and I'm just like, man, I'm not. I need I need more. And then I told him, like, I need, like, I want to do more. And then he's like, well, let's get out on the road. Like, let's figure out where we can build next. And which is like not very common. Like,
Yeah.
you go to a developer and you tell them, hey, after 1 year, like, I want to do more. It's like, well, do another year. And
Yeah.
hit your budget another year, and we're talking good. But he's just such a go-getter. He's so hungry, and he was a former athlete himself. I mean, years ago. And he said, yeah, let's go build another one. So, we would go and prospect, and there we went to this one small town not too far away from us, and they were looking to build one. And they basically said, hey, like, this is we want to build off of your model. Like, what's your licensing fee? And then, like, I was like, licensing fee? I was like, I didn't know what that was at the time.
Yeah.
Then I go back to him, and he's like, oh yeah, like, there's a few ways you can you can make a repeatable business. You can franchise it, or you can license it. And I was like, wow, so we can actually give them the playbook, and then they pay us for it. He's like, exactly, that's what it is. That's a franchise or a license, right? And so then we started licensing our business model to all of these other places, and they would pay us to come and visit them every now and then, but they pay us to see them all the way through the process. And I was fully content with doing this. Like, we got 6 other facilities that we had, in the pipeline at that time. But then I got a call from a really good friend, who had trained me years ago, and he's just like, this is like an opportunity that I just couldn't pass. He's like, hey, I got a really good opportunity for you, in Dallas. And is like a well-known, athlete who wants to build a facility, and he looks like you, and I think he would hire you in a heartbeat. And so, um, I considered it. I went back and forth over it, and I even talked to, um, you know this gentleman who I work for, and I told him, hey, I don't really know what I want to do. I just know that, like, what we're doing is what I love. I just don't want to do it here. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be in a bigger city where I can, maybe meet a young lady, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And he's like, you could probably do this on your own right now if you wanted to. Like, he's like, he actually is the one who told me, he's like, I don't even think you should go ahead and take this job. Like, he's like, you could probably start this thing on your own and do this, like, start your own little business by consulting. And I was just like a little scared. I was like, dude, that's a huge risk. But he's such a, like, he is the type of guy who, he has a lot of, like, I guess you could say, this, like, Mike, like, this, like, I think the term is like synchronicity or synchro destiny or something like that. I forgot the exact term, but, like, he just makes you believe more of yourself,
Yeah.
because he's just done it all. So he's just like, if I can do it, well, it's definitely possible. So I was like, this theory of mind, right? Like, if I did it, then anyone can do it, right? Um,
Exactly.
so then, he told me to do it, but I was like, I'm not going to take that advice. But so I left, and he's like, well, we'll pay you, to just help us as you're, like,
Yeah.
as you're transitioning out. So I went ahead and took this job, and then I was doing consultancy on the side with this, company back in Williamsport, and basically literally the same model now. Like, I'm in this a much bigger scale. So we're talking, we were doing 100,000 square foot facilities, 50,000 square foot facilities, really small beans. I mean, this one was the one that we were dealing with now was, near 500,000 square feet. So, like, much bigger project,
Oh.
a lot bigger staff, and a much higher profile, because, like, people are visiting every day to see the progress, because the person who's involved with this is a high profile person. And I just, like, I did the job well. It wasn't that very difficult of a job. I just got, to be completely honest, I just got burnt out. Like, I didn't see, like, the path to doing my own thing. And that's when I said, like, I realized, like, the sports facility industry, you could certainly make money in it being a consultant, right? And I know there's a lot of companies out there that do consultancy, so I don't want to poo-poo on them. But I think the bigger opportunity, the more lucrative opportunity is what is underlying the sports facility industry, and that's real estate.
Yeah.
And and I realized this after a while that, the sports facility industry is merely just a veneer for a real estate company.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you have, let's say you have this big steel building and you run an operation under it, you're paying the landlord every month, right? And let's say the business just doesn't do well. Like, that's the end of the facility. And generally what they do is they take that facility, retrofit it for the next business that's coming in there, whether it's another sports facility or it's a different type of concept. And so, and I learned that firsthand with one of our first projects. We actually took a old beaten down airport facility and turned it into a sports facility. And if you think about it, it's perfect. There's high ceilings, it's all steel. All you need to do is just rip out the concrete and put some turf in there, and now we got a sports facility. So I learned how transitory this business can be. And at the end of the day, though, whoever owns that asset is getting paid, right? And so that's when I said I need to get into real estate, and that's what's, luckily brings me to where I'm at now. But in between that, I did work in a nonprofit where I did a big, like, it was probably the most refined and precise job I ever had, where I was doing budgets and forecasting. I was doing debits and credits. Like, I was in the numbers, spreadsheets. And that's where I got really good at math and really good at the accounting piece of business, which really I thought equipped me to have the job that I have now, which is with JLO, which is a commercial real estate company.
Oh, that's amazing. And what exactly are you doing right now with JLO?
So the department that I'm in is called Integrated Services. And what we do is we provide a myriad of real estate services to specific clients. So, for instance, AT&T has real estate across the globe, right?
Yeah.
They operate in a lot of different buildings. They don't want to manage those buildings. They don't want anything to do with it. They just want to, make sure our telecom works, right?
Yeah.
So they hand off all real estate services to companies such as JLL. So that's just the kind of giving you a framework. So we do that same thing, integrated services, for public institutions.
Okay.
That's the division. That's the division I'm in. So every state government has a Department of General Services. You can look it up, and every state government has one. Every one of those departments manage that state's real estate. So there's real estate that the actual state owns, and they're looking to upkeep it, flip it sometimes, or even acquire new real estate. So in some cases, they hire third parties, such as JLL, to manage that whole outfit for them, so they don't have to worry about it. And the sell is that we can manage it better than them, because we have a lot of processes and systems in place that maybe they just don't have. So I'm in the business of selling our services to government agencies. So that's primarily everything from, you can think of every government agency you can imagine: Department of Health, Department of Children's Services, Department of Veteran Services. I mean, every state has tons of them. And then also public institutions. So public institutions such as, higher education. So you can think of any state-run higher ed situation.
Universities and stuff like that.
Correct. Okay. So that's the division I'm in.
No, thank you for sharing. That's amazing. I want to take it to, how we can translate it, from the athlete perspective. You've done a great job of, working in a number of different spaces using your skills. So for the athlete that's transitioning, like, what skills, I don't want to say mean the most, but like can be applied like right away?
I was actually on another podcast a few days ago, and I said this, and I still, like, I should have done research on it, but I still don't know the term. But when, like, in basketball or any sport, any athletic a venue, when you score, let's say you score a goal or a basket or a touchdown or whatever, you get a bucket, you get those points, you get that goal, but the team also gets one. So there's like two people who benefit. There's a collective and an individual who benefit from it. So you actually, in sports, you actually benefit somewhat from being selfish, right?
Yeah.
Because when I score, I'm scoring for me, but I'm also scoring for the team. There's like this second order effect from getting a bucket for myself or getting a
Yeah.
goal for myself. And I think that's the most like the thing that translates the most in business is people who go after things like in a selfish manner, not completely selfish, but in
Yeah.
a somewhat selfish manner to get something for them. They realize they're actually also affecting the team in the same manner. And I think that's probably what a lot of employers really enjoy about, I wouldn't say like covet, I wouldn't say enjoy,
Yeah.
they covet about athletes because intrinsically we all are looking to get ours. We're all chasing this dopamine, right? Every like you score, I
Yeah.
get a little hit, and but at the same time, like what we don't realize is like the team benefits. Like I score, everybody on my team claps, right?
That's
Like
true.
because everyone's benefiting. And I think the team aspect of being a part of a team and understanding, like not just the selfishness, but balancing that with sacrificing as well. I just don't know if people who haven't played sports truly can get grasp that concept. You know,
Yeah.
like if I go and get something, and you see this generally in like sales roles and things like that. But it's a very entrepreneurial trait to want to go and get something for you, and then also on the second order effect, like a collective benefits from it. And I think that's probably like one of the best after effects of just being an athlete for this long. Like I'm looking for stuff for me, but at the same time, like my team benefits from me looking like improving on all these different ventures that I have. So, for instance, here's a really good example. I present to a lot of different agencies, on a week to week basis,
Yeah.
promoting our services. And when I go in front of them, I'm not just looking to present, like I'm looking to like wow them. You know what I mean? But I
Hmm.
do that for me. I do that for me because I want them to know like I'm the real deal here, right?
Yeah.
Almost like it's almost like a posturing that I'm doing to make sure people know I'm in the room. Like it's no different from getting a bucket. Like I'm there when I score,
Yeah.
right? Like I exist in the game.
Yeah.
And but like when I walk away from that presentation and I say I kill it, I'm like, man, that's a really impressive person. And they're like, man, JLL is legit if they got guys like that. You know what I mean?
That's
That's
true.
really like the whole. I really don't know the term for this, and there probably is a term, but I think that is probably one of the best aspects of being an athlete because I'm constantly seeking like this gratification from attaining things and acquiring things and achieving things. And a second order effect that I don't even have to worry about is that people who are on my team also benefit from it, you know?
No, that's a good one. I talk to a lot of people about like their skills transitions, soft skills and hard skills and how they translate to corporate. And, you're probably one of the first gentlemen to say it in that aspect where it's like that selfish team dynamic and how it works together. So I want to change gears for a little bit. Obviously, you started in the D League, it's now the G League. Times have changed. What's
Long time.
interesting for you is, you played in the D League and then worked and then went back to playing, professional. From a money
Yeah.
management perspective, what did that look like? Like, how are you able to, properly, manage your money? And did you understand personal finance at that point?
Yeah, I understood it, but I didn't understand it to this extent that I understand it now.
Mhm.
So like, this is actually really funny. You mentioned this. Like, my first job was at non-basketball playing job was at St. Francis, and for the first time, I have to figure out where I want some of my funds to go because they had this thing, as I'm sure you know this. It's called a 403b, which
Mhm.
is a retirement account. At the time, I think it's technically an annuity, but there's this company called TIAA. I think it's called Teachers and Intercollegiate. I forgot the name, but TIA CREF is the name of the company, and they do a lot of retirement services for a lot of nonprofits across the country. So they opted one of their vehicles, one of their tools that they use is a 403b. So I had to determine like, do I like what do I put in this 403b? I asked one of my buddies. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
He's like, how long do you plan on being there? I was like, I don't know. He's like, well, just set aside a few dollars. Like, what will happen is you'll just get, this compounding interest. And I was like, what? And compounding, and then that's the first time I learned about like what compounding interest was,
Uh,
and like the best way I can explain that is I know you probably know what that is, but whoever's, listening or happens to watch this is like the best example I can use is like this quote I heard. It's like the money that makes money also makes money, right? That's what compound interest is.
it's like a best way to explain it. It's like an MLM network, but for money. So you get the herbal,
Right, right,
you get like the Herbalife,
right,
and if they sell it to somebody, you're making money off that. That's like
right.
how I try to explain it to folks.
Yeah, yeah. I think Benjamin Franklin said that, by the way. But the money that makes money also makes money. I
Hmm.
think that's what he said. But anyway, so that was the first time I learned about compounding interest and how just like incredible the concept is. And um, that after that, I was like, oh man, I got to get my stuff into investments that and like compound over time, like over and
Yeah.
over. And that's really when I started to grasp the concept. But I really didn't learn truly about money until I got with the developer in Williamsport, and he taught me about truly investing in appreciating assets and nothing else,
Yeah.
and living a lifestyle that you played the long game. Always living below your means, and truly understanding that your assets that you own is really all that you have in this world. You know, and I learned, he's definitely so like he said, and you don't have to score every time. Like he always tell me this. He's like you can be a 30% shooter. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Or you could also just shoot 30% of the time, right? Like you don't have to try to swing at everything that comes your way. I think the Warren Buffett, his circle of competence is
Yeah.
kind of what he was going for, right? Just knowing your lane, and when you see your pitch, always swing, right? Like when you see this certain framework that fits whatever mental model you have, take that opportunity. But don't go for the things that you're not familiar with if you think it's too complicated or what have you. There's a lot of ways to make money, and that's kind of what I learned from it. There's just a lot of ways to make money, and then there's a few ways to only keep money. And he gave me this book called "The Richest Man in Babylon." I'm
Great
sure you've
book.
heard of it,
Yeah, great book.
and it was very simple concept. I mean, like whatever you make, just put 10% aside. You know what I mean? That was like
Yeah.
kind of the biggest nugget I pulled from that book. But I mean, it's this very simple concept, like pay yourself first, right? And at the end of the day, there's really after that, like there's really nothing else. Like everything will speak for itself, and it'll set you up. But yeah, I didn't know I didn't know anything coming like after like that first year, and then I just got like this great accelerated program of learning about finances and business and everything from my boss who was a developer.
No, I appreciate you sharing. I think what you said about that 30%, and I think it's really important because a lot of times a lot athletes get a lot of deal flow, a lot of opportunities come their way, but you don't have to swing at everything. You don't have to shoot every shot, but also 30% of the shots you do take, if you get that rate of return, you're going to be very successful. So it's that
Yeah,
balance and understanding like key concepts that fit into your own strategy to give you the best chance for success. You're also
yeah,
an investor in some early stage startups. So can you talk about your process and like what it takes to look at a deal? A lot of athletes are
yeah,
into investing now.
yeah. So I kind of put this in two different, maybe even more than that, a few categories. But like one good book that I was given by my former boss, that's called The Outsiders. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a book about some of the best money managers in history, literally purely by number from a statistical standpoint. And like the one thing I pulled from that is like you're gonna have a few types of people who run a business. There's gonna be people who are purely just capital allocators, like they know how to allocate capital correctly so that it grows. And then another type of person is like your founder, who is taking something that literally did not exist and bringing life to it, which both are skills, right? And they're both different skill sets, but I think it needs to be said like there's value in both, right? And learning about that, like those the two archetypes of, business leaders, has really helped me go into this next, stage of where, I do some investing on the side, and then I also help a few people who have a lot higher net worths than me, help them make decisions on investments that they make. So, going into the deal, I think there's a lot of different frameworks you can use. I actually haven't written anything down. I just kind of feel stuff out, to be honest with you. But I have a few things that I have like that needs to check the box for me. Um, I read this really good book years ago. It was by oh gosh, Carlota Perez. Carlota Perez. It's Financial Revolutions. Yeah, no, Technological Revolutions in Financial Capital is the name of the book. And she kind of talks about all of the different revolutions that have occurred from the beginning of history. So it starts with like the steam engine, right? And how once that occurs, all this capital just floods to this new, innovation. And then like it ends with like the technological revolution that's just recently happened. But then you also have like in between that, you have the combustible engine, right? That really allowed for the Model T to be, to come to life. So that's how Ford and other people make money. So then it also says like once all this capital floods, like bubbles occur, and this is kind of what it's a very cyclical concept that she teaches, and it actually kind of fits her model perfectly, like how history is kind of played out. And I say all that just because I use that as almost like as my framework to, new opportunities that, present themselves. And I always think of, okay, is this following some sort of technological revolution? Or is this primarily something that is just like a repeat of the past, and they're just, not really going to change anything, drastically, but just change stuff on the margin. And I'm not, for me, I'm not looking for major, opportunities where like I'm investing in the next Uber. I don't have the opportunity to be in, but some of the people that I'm involved with have those opportunities, right? So I help them analyze those situations. But I look at, the business from a technological revolutional standpoint, and then I also look at, who the founders are, and not really just trying to size them up or anything, but just to see if they know, if they thought about the problem deeply enough that this solution that they've created is really the thing that's going to solve the issue. I think you have to think about the problem like a long, long time. Like you have to actually put what I would call like a distilled thought into it, where you've thought about it so much that like you have no other option but to create this business, because like the problem has existed in your mind for so long that there's only one way to solve it, and that way is your way. That's how long you have to think about these problems that you're trying to solve. And when I speak to people who are founders, I'm purely trying to extract how long they thought about the problem for, and if they have or haven't, because generally, everyone has a story, and stories can be scripted, so like they can build that in, and because they know what they're feeding to. But there's other ways you can kind of prime them to really get to the core of what the problem is. So and then the last thing, I end every single session with looking at the economics of the business. So like I think that to me is like the core of every business, right? That's like literally like the lifeblood. My cousin, who was a CFO, gave me this book called Traction
Oh
years
yeah,
ago.
I've been hearing a
Uh,
lot. I've been recommending that book from multiple people.
yeah, he gave me that book years ago, and I read it, and like I was like, oh, interesting. So like the one quote that sticks out to me in that book is like, everything is a number. Everything, like everything in your business should have a metric to it, should have a number to it. Even your employees should have a number to them, right? Like everything should be measured. And so I use that, and I kind of take that and extrapolate that to how I approach people when it comes to businesses. Like every founder is a number to me. Every concept is a number to me. And then obviously when you look into the numbers, those are also numbers, right?
Yeah.
And you take all of that in like a really holistic point of view, and then you like in most cases when I look at most of these cases, I'm telling people my thoughts, and I say like and I really try to simplify it, because I don't like some of these people that I, advise, like they're not as savvy as I would, or you or I would be in this world. So you have to simplify it. So I have this really simple framework, jockeys and horses, like, all right, the jockey is an 8, the horse is a 5. So the jockey would be the founding team, the
Mm-hmm.
operating team, and the horse is the actual business. And so usually, when both are above a 5, you can, that's decent. But like, obviously the higher the jockey, the higher the horse, like the
Yeah.
better the business. And I try to keep it really simple and just how my explanations are. And then I use that same framework for myself. Like, how good is a jockey? How good is a horse? Because as complex as we can get, and there's a lot of complexities in this. I mean, a lot of people have made, a lot of money putting, building frameworks around this whole practice. I think in some cases you have to make it simple as well, and that's as simple as it possibly can get. You're literally using 2 factors, jockeys and horses, and
Yeah.
and explaining things. But I think at times it is that simple. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think at times it really is as simple as how good are the founders and how good is the business. There's a lot of other things that kind of branch off from those 2 subjects, but at the end of the day, good business, good founder, you're probably going to make money, right?
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to.
No, that's a great analogy, and you said something that that really sticks home. When it comes to getting down to the basics, and sometimes the basics are the hardest things that we can do. You mentioned it earlier when you first stepped into making your own money, like understanding compound interest and retirement funds and different things like that. And then you take it one step further, when it comes to investing, jockeying the horse, and then from there you build that foundation and you build it out. It's not all right. Now it's like, all right, what market, what demographic, market analysis compared to other existing businesses, or in this case other horses and other jockeys. But as we get the basics down first, and I think a lot of athletes need to take note, it's like get the basics first and then you build out and get more complex over time. So I appreciate you sharing, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but you're a great example of an athlete. No matter how short or long your career was, you were able to how can I say, springboard it to a wonderful corporate career, and you're doing a lot of great things. Do you have any last piece of advice that you would give a student athlete or athlete, you know as we like to call, to become a frugal athlete?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Putting me on the spot here, but I think I would go back to what I originally said. You know, um, any type of uncertainty is a literally it's a limitless opportunity. And like really the best thing I could say is when you here, let me reframe this. And I'll say this story, and this might maybe be the last thing because I know we're pressed for time. So
Oh no, we're
um,
good. I'm just trying to be
okay,
respectful.
we had a sports psychologist come to our to speak to our team when I was at Bucknell one year,
Uh-huh.
and he came to us, and we had lost like 8 in a row, and he's a very popular sports psychologist. It's actually we call him Uke. I know his name is like Euclid or something like that, but he's a very he's like a
Okay.
renowned sports psychologist at Penn State University. He did some work for us at Bucknell, and he asked us. He went around the room and asked us like, what would what do you want your mantra to be, right? What is it
Ooh, I
something
like
like
that.
you want your team to think about, as your personal mantra? And we all went around the room, and I said, for me, I just really would love this year to bring me painless memories, you know? And what I meant by that is I want to look back, and I think we all know this as athletes. Like there's a game that you played, and you think about that game and how bad you played and how poor your play and how much it contributed to the loss, and it brings you pain. Like it really hurts you inside
Mm-hmm.
that you're like have to relive that memory over and over. And you like athletes probably would give anything to just eradicate that whole memory from your brain, right?
Yeah.
So if you like take that and almost like rewind, right? Actually don't even fast forward like a year from now. What today could you do to avoid that painless memory a year from now, right? And I think about that all the time. And essentially what I'm saying is, how do you literally minimize all your regrets today? So how do you minimize your regrets in the future today? And to me, the only way I can do that is if I put like my absolute best foot forward, and make sure that all my actions today are going to contribute to who I'm going to be tomorrow and bring me like happiness tomorrow. So like I am certain that everything I do today, regardless if it's painful for me today, if I think about a year from now, I think about that memory and I smile, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if you live almost with the future in mind, I think that's probably the best advice I can give an athlete. Um, Literally just live with the future in mind. Like think about yourself a year from this day and look and see, just like, if you thought back about this day, like how would you feel about it? And if you could say like, man, that was a great day, like then like you're doing well, you know?
Yeah.
That's honestly the best advice I could give.
Ibrahim, that's a great way to end the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time. You got the gems, I got uncertainty equals limitless opportunity. I got currency equals
That wasn't
reputation.
mine.
Oh, no, I mean, but you told me it. So your currency is the highest form of reputation. There's so many other things, the second order effect, when you talked about, as an athlete, that selfish mentality that actually is a positive for the team and not just a negative. If you can like balance that the right way. You gave a lot of book recommendations, and then the way you closed it, how do you minimize your regrets today for your future self? And I think as athletes, we work so hard from the time we're 5 to make it pro. And then we come into money, we come into fame, we come into these opportunities, and we don't know what to do with it. But we think, our athlete career is only going to be so long. We have the whole rest of our lives to live. So that's a great way to close the show. We're
Thank you,
definitely
man.
going to have his information in the show notes. And once again, Ibrahim, thank you so much. I'm glad we got to connect.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks.
No, most definitely.